welcome back everybody. Just ask you to take your seats quickly, please, so we can get started. Thanks. Okay, welcome back everybody to the final session apart from the prize giving of the conference. And thank you for your patience with regard to the overruns. We appreciate your cooperation in trying to get things back on track. So now we have our final set of lightning talks, and we have 4 speakers. We have, first up, we have Mary Dunn and Maria Nelson from the Health Research Board. Following that, we have Orla Nic Aodha from St. Patrick's College, DCU. Following her, we have Siobhan McGuinness from the Heritage Council, and we have my colleague Elaine Bean from Maynooth University. So if I ask Mary and Maria to make a start. Thank you.
There. I've just helped someone get a €1 million research contract and saved our organisation another €10,000 by consolidating our databases. I love being a librarian.
Yes, me too.
Plus, my latest open access project means that people can get much more material freely.
Yeah, when others classify something, they mean to hide it. When librarians classify something, we do it so people can find it and make sense of it. By the way, I was cataloguing some old texts yesterday when I came across the formula for world peace. I'll facilitate a workshop on it later.
Lovely. Look at our users out there, all with such a range of hopes and dreams. They use library services for lots of reasons. If only they could know the truth.
Yes, if they knew the power that librarians can wield, the difference we make to the world every day.
Through our services, we're actually enabling democracy, empowering people to engage with the issues they need to know.
Yes, our collections are important, but it's the conversations that our collections inspire that give us our purpose.
By designing useful resources and by teaching and training, we're enabling people to reach their full potential, to find their voice and to change and improve their lives.
Yet all they see is the stereotypical librarian.
I've been thinking about changing my job title. Someone told me that if you merge 2 popular constructs, you'll get a cool title. So I chose Twitter and Facebook. But they give me Twitface. I can't go with that.
No. Nowadays you have to put wiki before everything. I'm a wiki Bing or a wiki Google.
Wiki Yahoo, more like. Maybe I'll stick with librarian. Besides, we are not search engines. We're so much more than that.
We're more like knowledge ninjas.
Well, okay. So what are you putting in your annual report this year?
I'm sticking with stats, no point in pushing things.
We're so good at being covert.
Just like a ninja.
You don't think we should be telling people about our actual value, do you?
We've been doing this in a head-down, mild manner, how can we serve you type of way for thousands of years. Mind you, I have recently heard of some radical rogue librarians getting the message out. You know who you are. Perhaps they have a point.
So what can we do?
Well, instead of talking about what we do, we could help our community to identify with our core values.
Yeah, we don't represent books. We represent credibility, creativity, intellectual freedom, learning and success. And for organisations, we want to show that we're essential to their mission.
Then why don't we change how we communicate to our managers and budget holders?
Yeah, let's get loud.
Well, if we made a 5-minute video for our organisation, what might that look like?
Thank you, Mary and Maria. That was something different for a Friday afternoon. So up next now we have Orla. Thank you. Let her at it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Orla Nic Aodha. The first thing I want to say is that I have my tongue placed firmly in my cheek for this. And the second thing is to say I'm not a historian, just a loud, opinionated librarian, and that's a stereotype smashed. So, when I decided to submit this presentation back in October, I was kind of concerned that the role women played in the Rising would be forgotten this year. So the jury's still out on that, I think. You know, there just seem to be a lot of events celebrating the role. There's the Women of 1916 Twitter and so on. And I think Waking the Feminists campaign has helped a little bit, because the programming in the Abbey was actually quite shameful for 2016, but this has been acknowledged, and I think after that they're kind of afraid of the women. There's the playwright Teresa Deevy, who they left out completely, but I'll talk about that again. And then since October, of course, we've had Rebellion and RT. I don't know how many people have watched that. 3 female leads, brilliant, but I think it was a little bit disappointing in the end from that perspective. So, let me see now. Okay, so we all know Mary. So Mary is from the 1946 film It's a Wonderful Life. And this is what having no man and no family does to a woman. They become spinster librarians. They say in the film that every time a bell rings, you know, an angel gets its wing, but I think every time a bell rings, a librarian dies inside. And what about the other cliche? The other librarian, the nice one, the one that takes in the troubled, lonely kid because they can relate to that troubled, lonely child because they are that troubled, lonely person. And of course, the biggest stereotype of all, that we're all women, because we're not always female, of course. Okay, so the Irish Mammy's tea towels. Does anyone else find this bizarre? I'm a woman, I'm Irish, I have children. I just can't relate to this whole Irish Mammy's thing. Irish women are stereotyped into these roles as teachers, as nurses, as mammies, as wives, as librarians. So, of course, we're not spinsters with buns in our hair. We're loud, we're opinionated, we're political, we are male, we are female. Some of us have tattoos. Oh. So our profession has to be more about than just collecting material in a benign kind of way. We should feel free to interpret the material and have a strong view. So we have to interpret and not just curate. So, De Valera, I think, would have loved the idea of the librarian dancing at the crossroads, the comely maiden. But did you know that approximately 200 women fought in the Rising? I will link this vaguely. We know about Maud Gonne and Markovitch, but how many other names do we know? In 2016, we have to smash the stereotype that is the librarian, spinsterish, a bit shy, and also the stereotype that women played a supporting role during the Rising, that they nursed the wounded or made the tea. Ah, you will, have a cup of tea. It renders the women's contribution in the Rising benign. Women during the Rising shot people, they were shot at, they were wounded, and they wounded others. The men and women of the Irish Citizen Army fought together on an equal footing. They fought on the understanding that there would be equal rights for women. And they were betrayed after the wars. A lot of women fought on the wrong side of the Civil War and were punished by De Valera. The proclamation was radical for the time because it endorsed women as equal citizens, and the Rising was not just about a struggle for independence, but it was a struggle for women's rights and labour equality. So let's focus on one of the women. I'm sorry about the quality of this photograph, but Elizabeth O'Farrell. Elizabeth O'Farrell was one of the 3 women who were the last to leave the GPO, along with Rinifred Carney and Julia Grennan. And she was sent out by Pearse, in front of Pearse, waving the white flag, to surrender to the British forces. And she was literally airbrushed out of history. And this photo, there was a couple of iterations. These are the last 2 photos. As far as I know, the negative has never been found, and we don't know who the photographer was. But when it appeared, you can just see at the bottom of the picture on your left, Elizabeth O'Farrell's shoes and uniform there underneath Pierce as he's surrendering. And by the time the photograph appeared in the newspapers a week later, poor Elizabeth O'Farrell had been totally airbrushed out of history. You can Google this picture because I know it's probably very hard to see it there. So the woman disappeared forever from history. She didn't even get a role in the Michael Collins film, and I was waiting with bated breath watching Revolution, if anyone saw it, and she missed out again because they sent a man out in the programme. She's been referred to over the years and known as Nurse O'Farrell, not Elizabeth O'Farrell, but Nurse O'Farrell. And the independence won by men and women of Easter week didn't turn out to be this socialist, feminist utopia they fought for. In the period after the Civil War, when we begin to nation build, I believe the women of Ireland were betrayed. Nationalist men began to construct this new nation, consigning the role Irish women played in the rising to a supportive one. The British Empire was banished, but the Catholic Church took over. And we've a very good collection of Christian Brothers textbooks up in Pat's library that were published in the 20s and 30s, and you can see that these are the textbooks used in the schools at the time, how we as a nation began to nation build and the influence of the Catholic Church coming in there. Historian Jennifer Redmond, in her essay for the online exhibition Outsider Women, quotes Oliver St. John Gogarty, who said in the Seanad in 1928 that it is high time that the people of this country find another way of loving God than by hating the women. And in 1937, the Constitution, which is heavily flawed in my opinion, if you read the accounts of the time and the lobbies women made, explicitly stated, of course, that women's place was in the home. And this was a huge betrayal for the women who fought alongside the men in 1916. And remember that De Valera was the only commander during Easter week not to allow women fight under his command in Boland's Mill. So, this is De Valera's Ireland. Male-dominated, church-ruled. After the war, after the Rising, the War of Independence and the Civil War, and the Free State put women back in the kitchen and put us back dancing at the crossroads. And Dev banned us from working once we got married. And the marriage ban, remember, isn't that long gone. And this is a picture of Elizabeth O'Farrell's gravestone in Glasnevin. And there's an inscription at the bottom to her faithful comrade and lifelong friend, Sheila Grennan. I think lifelong friend is the term probably used in Ireland, where a woman was either single, married to a man, or a spinster. A lifelong friend isn't going to fit into De Valera's Ireland or Catholic Ireland. Elizabeth O'Farrell was never going to fit into De Valera's Ireland. Nurse O'Farrell, yes. So women today are still earning less, not represented equally in politics, hugely underrepresented in academia at senior levels, and they still carry the burden of carers' work. So there's a poster on exhibition. I hope you got a chance to see it. It's the 3U project between Maynooth University, my own library, St Patrick's College, and the Royal College of Surgeons. And it's an online exhibition called Outsider Women, with each library showcasing a particular woman. Maynooth, the playwright Teresa Deavy, whose play Katie Roach criticised the role of Irish women in 1930s Ireland, who was sidelined by the establishment. Emily Dixon by the College of Surgeons, the first female fellow in the College of Surgeons. And our own contribution is the digitised works of Agnes O'Farrelly, or Orla Nic Aodha, who was a founder member of Cumann and the first female to write a novel in Irish. So these women are not household names, and this is our contribution to ensure that they regain their place in history. So in 2016, let's celebrate the role women played in the Rising. Let's banish the stereotype, and as librarians, let's be loud and bold about it. Gur maith.
Thanks, Orla. Another inspiring presentation on a Friday afternoon. And next up we have Siobhan McGuinness. Okay, here we go. Over to you, Siobhan.
Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, I am Siobhan McGuinness, and I'm here today to present to you my time as an intern with the Heritage Council. I began my internship in March 2015, and I spent 9 wonderful months with a fantastic organisation working on many brilliant projects. Today, however, I shall present the main project that took me on what I would like to call my library journey, and that is working within the library at the Heritage Council. So, background regarding the Heritage Council, this is the front of the building, and it's located in the Bishop's Palace in Kilkenny. So according to the Heritage Council, the construction of the Bishop's Palace is circa 1350, so the building's very unique and beautiful. Many people I've met in the last year have asked, what do the Heritage Council do? And the easiest answer I can give is that it has everything to do with the heritage of Ireland. The Heritage Council is located in Kilkenny, and the 8 officers employed vary from the head of conservation, who's an archaeologist, to a wildlife officer, and all employees look after their heritage section that encompasses the whole country. So today I should give an overview of the library project, but I really want to talk to you about the challenges and opportunities that presented themselves over the 9 months. And lastly, I would like to highlight the possibilities for library interns and the impact mentors have during an intern's time with the host organisation. Now, that is not something from a science fiction novel, I assure you. This is how JobBridge refers to each organisation. So, So having secured the internship, I researched the Heritage Council and I was amazed at the work they do. The ethos of the Heritage Council stretches far and wide, which is similar to our own profession. And to take this quote from the Heritage Council's most recent publication, the Heritage Council ensures that the best elements of our heritage, which enhance our communities and enrich our lives, will be passed on to our children and to their children in turn. So we as librarians can all relate to how we have an ability to care for a community and understand the aspect of place or space, and we are doing this alongside all heritage professionals. Libraries are part of our heritage, so it's very rewarding to begin a project with an organisation that share that same passion. So, the library project came about through a report that the Archives and Records Management Consultant produced in 2014. So 3 areas needed to be addressed. The first one being the organisation of material. So here we can see part of the library. I hope you can all see that, okay. And this was taken when the conservationists were doing work on the library shelves. So as I previously mentioned, the construction of the Bishop's Palace was circa 1350. Now, in addition, the library shelves, according to the architect and the archaeologist, were from the 18th century. So unfortunately, one major defect that we found was the wall behind the shelves had moved. Now, because of this defect, and because the library shelves and space was seriously overstocked, the shelves had moved. So once I took material from the shelf fell down. And then when the material on the next shelf was impossible to remove, because the shelf above it was so heavy and stuck. So, to move on then from that, the material in the library had been organised in the most peculiar way. It was all very random. Some staff had their own sections, a lot of the material was duplicates, and the Heritage Council publishes a lot of material, and they receive a lot of material, and everything goes to the library. So second to that then, the archival of material. So the archival of material meant that I had to comb through every shelf and every piece of material to assess what the material was, why it should be in the library, who owned the material, etc., etc. And third then, to build a report where I could make recommendations to staff and management. And my recommendations, I had lots, but they all seemed to fall on deaf ears. And the project was just not progressing. So I had to ask myself, what am I doing wrong? So, cue challenges. So the challenges, there was many, and there was many on a daily basis. To begin, the staff employed in the Heritage Council work with the Heritage of Ireland nationwide. So they travelled a lot and they didn't keep to a typical schedule. In order for me to begin the project, I needed them to assess the material and if so, confirm archival of material. I needed the one-on-one time with staff, and this became very difficult to do, and that was my first challenge. So now for this word, disposophobic, it's a great word, and it means the fear of losing things or the intense fear of getting rid of stuff. So naturally, most staff did not want to archive material and would not give me reasons for keeping the material. Just that they needed it, should be kept in the library, and just in case was used many, many times. And there's more. So slowly over time, myself and the Archives and Records Management Consultant concluded that the staff did not trust the archival process and they weren't confident in the retrieval of material because losses had been made in previous years. And this also included trusting an intern and trusting that the intern was capable of such an important project. So I want to talk about that a little bit more. So the trust side of things was really difficult to build, mainly because they assumed I was making the decisions and not involving them. The decisions they thought I was making included moving their material off-site. So previous practice in retrieving the information was very poor and very complicated. And then in some previous projects that were done, they were done without any input from staff. And sometimes staff were questioning, like, where is everything? So having heard this from the many discussions I held with staff, now the discussions were over coffee, standing up, meeting them on the stairs in the car park, like anywhere I could find them, nab them, talk to them, see what's going on. So it made me realise that I needed to sit down with all of them and hash out their concerns and worries and give them a 100% guarantee that they deserved and a promise that they would be able to retrieve the material. Trust is like an eraser. It gets smaller and smaller after every mistake. And this was why the library project was not progressing. Now, once they started to understand the process and once they understood that this was imperative to my profession and that I was not any random intern doing any random project that I didn't care about, once they saw my passion, they really came on board. They became interested in what I was doing and how I was doing it. The material in the library was really interesting, and I was intrigued by each section. So together we promised that as I would teach them each step of the project, they in turn would teach me about the material and their heritage section. So it excited everyone because we're all passionate about our work, and most importantly, we wanted this library project to be successful. I needed to gain their trust, and I was happy to say I was successful in doing so. So, just before my time is up, I just want to switch over to interns and mentors. All interns, when entering an internship, need to not be labelled the intern, or to not call themselves just the intern. To new professionals in this room, they need to know that to do an internship is to learn and to grow. To learn not only from the person assigned to you as your mentor, but to all staff. Like, think the cleaner that's been there for 15 years, or the lady that comes in every Saturday morning to read the newspaper. Like, they know more about that organisation than you will in a million years, so just talk to them. To the people in this room that select interns, that possibly become their mentors, it is your job to not give the intern that label. It is your job to make sure they are heard and can grow. Give them opportunities, ask them their fears, and help them overcome them. It is not enough for us as new professionals or mentors to take internships as a one-stop shop or a one-stop project to work on, because internships are much more than that. This internship gave me a mentor, the Archives and Records Management Consultant, and not once did she see me as someone to mind or someone to look after. She saw me as a collaborative colleague. Now, this quote by Sheryl Sandberg, I love it. I really feel grateful to the people who encouraged me and helped me develop. Nobody can succeed on their own. And it's true, we can't do it alone. We all need people to help us grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Now over to Elaine, who's going to give the final presentation.
Thank you very much. Wave that big in my face if I'm running out of time. I know at the end of the day everybody wants to go home. Most of you know my name is Elaine, and most of you might have heard me speak before, but it's been about teaching and learning. And in the summer, I had an opportunity to change jobs, and so I am no more teaching and learning. I'm in a whole new job, and so I've got butterflies like I can't even begin to tell you because I have never spoken about this before. So normally when I get up to talk about things, I've been doing it for ages and you're pretty comfortable. So I'm kind of give you a day in the life of what I'm doing now. With every building, we've got new spaces, and as you know, Maynooth's got a fabulous new library. So with that new library, we got lots of new things. And so we had to look at it and see what we needed to do differently. And this is where the title that I put for my presentation, Change in Spaces, Change in Roles, it changed. So what I was doing started to change as well. With the new building, we got extended opening hours. So to manage the extended opening hours, we got a facilities team, which are their postgraduate students, and I was supervising that team, still doing teaching and learning work. And then when we got the fabulous new building, people were coming in and they saw that we had lovely rooms, training rooms, and as we started to use it, they started to ask for them. So then we had to work out, well, can we give them out? Are they training rooms, or will we let people book them? So we thought, well, you can't have some of them empty and tell people you can't use a room. but then the students were using them and the demand got greater. And then it turned into events. So we decided one time we'd have something in the foyer, and then what happened, somebody saw it and thought, isn't this lovely? We'd all like it. So lots of people were coming to the library to do things that we hadn't imagined. And it's really interesting because our events grew by 280% when we moved into the library. So you can imagine how big a jump that was. And then the quality review happened, and the quality review recognised that there was a need to do something more to try and manage events. So then in the summer, I had the opportunity to move from Senior Library Assistant Learning, Teaching, Research Development to Senior Library Assistant Facilities and Events. So I was kind of going, that's different, yeah. Very different to what I was doing, but I said, sure, why not? So this part I'm going to talk about managing events. And I could give you some examples of the events, but you know, I was sitting there earlier and an email had come in when we were on the break, and I'll just give you an example of the kind of things we get asked to do. So book launches, they're fine, you'd imagine in a library, that's grand. Exhibitions, different receptions, talks. Then we had the alumni night. We've got robot soccer. So for Science Week, we have the robots come in, we clear a section, but that's open to the public, so we get lots of people coming in for that. One email that I got just recently was, we were wondering, would you have a room? It doesn't matter if there's furniture in it, but we just need to run our yoga classes. And inside you're kind of going, it's in the beginning I used to go, do they not realise it's a library? But actually, people see the spaces as spaces they can book for different events. And so we had to change how we were thinking about things. And then we just manage how we do the events. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But another thing we had was the BioBlitz. Some people might have heard of that because it's happened in a few universities. So I got a message, could we run a BioBlitz over 24 hours? And I thought, well, we're not open 24 hours. No, we'll work around that. But what do you want to do in the 24 hours? Well, we want to collect bugs. And we want to have like butterflies and bees. And I'm going, in the library. So I'm on the phone to the health and safety officer. Listen, they want to do this. What do you think? Are they going to be live? I said, I don't know if they're going to be live. You better go back and ask them if they're going to be live. And you're there thinking, how do you put this to people? So that's the kind of thing that's happened. The days are very interesting. One of the big things that happened this year was that the library, we've always done orientation, we've always had a really good program for orientation, but this year we became a hub for orientation. So it meant that we had 4 groups coming into the library in the day, but in each group there were 300 people, and we had to dispatch 150 of them for library orientation and break another 150 into survey, exhibition, and fees and grants and registration. So we really had to manage orientation, so it happened in the library. So the next bit is just to show you, because some people mightn't have been in the library, these all have they all have official names, but I'm going to give you what we call them. This is our beanbag room for obvious reasons. This got turned into a full exhibition hall, so all different services in the university had a stand in here. So it was where we'd bring the students when we were trying to move them from one place to the other. This area here, which is our it's a computer space, this was like where if students hadn't registered, they could come back in here, and if they hadn't got all their courses picked, there was a fantastic team of students in here who'd help them doing that. This hadn't happened in the library before, and the other people were there saying, how is it going to work? And we're saying, no, we'll manage it, it'll be fine. You know. But this here is our large flexible learning room, but we call it the whiteboard room for obvious reasons. And this room regularly gets changed for events. This is the room that people look for the most. And what happens regularly is it gets put into a theatre for maybe 150 to 170 people. And we have to set it up, we have to change how everything happens. We've got this space here, which is kind of a quietish working space, but it got turned into a kind of a little tapas bar. And we had an alumni night in it, and it was just brilliant when they've asked, can they have it again? So it obviously worked for them. This is our foyer. Most people have visited us. If you haven't, email me, because I'd love to bring you around. We've got fantastic spaces in it. So this is our foyer, and this is where people regularly ask to come into, and this is an exhibition that's just up at the minute. But we've all sorts of things here, like our read aloud. We do a charity read aloud at Christmas, and Emma, one of my colleagues, just makes this amazing space with some of her other colleagues. And it's the students actually come in, even though the fire is just a computer, and they just sit down. They go, isn't this gorgeous for Christmas? They just sit under the Christmas tree. So it gets changed for that. Students' Union are regularly coming in to us. Can we have Pancake Tuesday? They had a fundraising event for the Rape Crisis Centre on Pancake Tuesday. They wanted to sell pancakes. They have lots of different events. We get music, so you might get asked, Africa Day, they wanted to have drums in the library, and then you have to say, how close is it to, where the people are studying, can we manage it? So there's lots of different things to think about. That was Seacht na Gaeilge. So how do we decide? Well, we really do try and take as much as we can, and we don't take bookings 3 weeks before exams. But you have to look at everything differently, because when something starts with, the president was wondering, it doesn't really matter if it's 3 weeks before exams, it changes everything. Elaine has to just look at the diary and just move it along and get on with it. When I worked in LTRD, we set up a booking system, and that's how we kind of ended up with events. And so that's when it moved with me now, we manage events. So we set up this booking system, and we actually have 2 different ones. We've worked one that's open to all staff because it doesn't impact on us offering it out to anybody else. And then we have one that is just for library booking. So it's like the foyer, the exhibition stands, the screens that we've all around the place. So we manage all of that. And sorry, due to popular demand, we are booked out. We really are. There is no space until November is when we can take the next booking for the foyer. And even though we were full, yesterday morning I had to go meet somebody because we have to squash in another one with an art exhibition that we've on. So we had to talk to Susan, see how we could move her exhibition around. So it happens. And in every good library, we count everything, don't we? So we keep a count of how many times we've been asked, can they use the space to make videos, because they want to make videos to promote the university, or how many times the rooms are booked, all of that kind of things. It's all there. Now, we don't have, 40 million views, as we heard this morning, that some people have, but we promote events and we use Flickr and all different types of social media, and it's really good because people come in and ask us to advertise their events, because it gets more people in. So we try and put things up on social media. And what I find really interesting is that you don't have to have lots of images up. Some of them there's only 24 photos and there's 111 views. So you can really sell things that are going on with just a few photographs and firing them out onto social media. So they're just some of the things that we have in the library, different events. There's lots of collaboration. So subject librarians, if we have an event on and it's tied to a subject, the subject librarians would talk to the department and they'd engage with them. Library colleagues, it always involves somebody, because if something's on, the rest of the library need to know about it. Special collections and archives, I have to say in particular to Susan, because they come in and they look for a space, and I'm fine with that, but don't ask me how to lay out the exhibition. So they always tell you they're organised and they know what they want, until they come into the space. You wouldn't have, or how do you think we could? So Susan's regularly dragged out to give a hand. Other university departments, you need to move the furniture, you need to talk to health and safety, there's lots of different things that you have to do. We've exhibitions outside of the university. And the Students' Union, as I said, this is the team who are helping our orientation. They're the funniest group. If you were feeling tired at all, they just gave you an instant energy boost. Brilliant people to work with. I put this in because we try and make a lib guide if there's an event on, and how we did this one was the subject librarian spoke to the department, and what we did was we looked at books that would relate to it was the fall of the wall, it was around the anniversary of the wall coming down. So we looked for books that we had or DVDs and we tied them in so as we could put a lib guide out to promote the material that we had. So we're trying to do that as well. I couldn't survive without these people. These are the facilities team who do the late opening, the late nights, the early mornings, who come in when things are on. And I just thought I'd mention that we communicate through Viber, which, most times, I think there's very few people who are communicating in Viber in work, but I don't see this team with the way they work. They're late at night, or they're at events, or I need them for something. So we all just talk to each other on Viber and Google Calendar. If I need them to do something, I put it in Google Calendar, and it's done when I come in the next morning. So they're fantastic. They check the building, and they do all different things, setting up and moving furniture, so they help out at all the different events. So when I changed jobs, I wondered, am I ever going to be able to talk at a conference again? Because I'm so used to talking about teaching and learning, I don't know what I could actually talk about. And then I saw the title of this conference, and I thought, I think it might fit into the diversity of the information profession. So I put this up because, my last slide, because you never know what opportunities are going to come at you. And sometimes we can get so comfortable in what we're doing that we don't go for it. And I remember thinking the first day that I had to walk past the list banner, and anybody who's heard me talk knows how passionate I am about list. And I had to walk past the list banner, and I thought, how am I going to do this? I've taught list for nearly 11 years, and now I have to today switch off and not do anything. And I don't think I even noticed it. I just got into the new job, and I loved it, and I do love it still. I know it's only 6-7 months, but what I'm saying to new people coming out is that you don't know what libraries have to offer. They've changed so much. I didn't start doing this. So grab every opportunity that you can, because you never know where it's going to take you. Thanks very much.
Thank you to Maria, Mary, Siobhan, Orla and Elaine, and I'm going to hand over to Leisha, who's going to announce all the various prizes, and we've got lots of them, and do the wrap up and close. Thanks, Leisha.
Okay, don't all leave because there's lots of prizes. So, the end is now, you'll be glad to hear. So this is the part of the proceedings where I will do a bit of a Gwyneth Paltrow impression and thank everybody within a 2-mile radius. Might get a bit emotional, there might be some crying. So first of all, a massive thank you to our sponsors again. Platinum sponsors IEEE and ProQuest, Gold sponsors LM Information Delivery, Dawson Books, Taylor and Francis, and the silver sponsors EBSCO, Interleaf Technology and Dublin Business School. As I said before, we couldn't do this conference without them, so thanks very much. Thanks to all the staff of the Radisson for hosting us again. I think we can all agree we had fantastic service here this year, and a special thanks to Lauren and Pavel, special Pavel. Thanks also to Facet Books, who continue to support our conference every year. A massive thank you to all our speakers. I think we can agree that the quality this year was really outstanding, and I was especially delighted with our 3 kick-ass female keynotes. Yeah, I feel empowered, I feel Beyonce-like, it's great. So I think the ANSL conference always showcases the variety, talent and innovation in Irish libraries. Like, it's really inspiring for us. I hope you've been inspired by it too. Thanks to all of you for coming. Thanks for coming to all our events and actively participating. Thanks for your questions, your comments, your tweets. And please give us your feedback about the conference and about anything else you want to talk to us about, because we want to hear from you and we want to obviously give you what you want in events. And so, do fill out the survey, which will be coming your way very soon. I want to say a special thank you to our 2 student conference assistants, Beth and Anita. They've been really great the past 2 days. We've given them a lot of odd Bob jobs to do, so thank you very much. You were fantastic. Look out for them in the future. Now, I want to say thank you to the committee. They are the hardest working committee in showbiz. I would like them to stand up and take a bow, because I think they deserve it. So we've got Marie, Sean, Ava, Katrina, Laura, Deirdre, Tom, Maria, Lorraine, Niamh. So, well, I don't want to labour the point, but there is a massive amount of work in organising this conference, and the level of commitment of this group of people is really amazing. And they're also a really nice bunch of people. Apart from me, I'm not that nice. So I'm really impressed by not just by their commitment and their hard work, but also the kindness that they show towards each other. It's really great. And a special thank you to Erin O'Mahony, who was project manager. I mean, technically, right, I was co-project manager, but I think we all know who was really in charge in that relationship. I mean, I was just doing what I was told, basically, wasn't I? So, Erin, I think you should take a special bow as well. Okay, now for the prize. It's the really important part. I have Charles from Interleaf has a really, really exciting prize to give out, I think. Ooh. Woo! I know.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here and to meet you all. We love coming to these conferences and supporting what you guys do, because we can't do what we do if you guys don't do what you do. But to the important business of jelly beans. The correct answer was 719. It started at 720, but there was a certain amount of quality control testing had to be done. And the nearest answer at 740 is Helen Fallon from Maynooth University. Yeah. backing clap here. So, Elaine, would you come up and accept it on her behalf, maybe? Yeah. There'll be photographing evidence.
Oh, it's been recorded. Oh, I can't.
But on behalf of Helen, well done.
Thank you.
Great
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll pass it on to her.
I have it over at I have a box over at the
Yeah.
stand, so if you want
Okay.
to come on
Yeah,
and
sure,
collect
no
it, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Helen and Elaine sounds very similar.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Now, next we have 2 books to give away. So we have one from Facet Publishing, and we also have Aoife Lawton has kindly donated one of her books. So we have 2. Oh, sorry, a signed copy of the book. I just need somebody to choose.
I'm impartial, I promise.
Give it in the hand.
No, we can't.
Okay, so this one is for the Facet book, and it has to be for the Facet book because it's Aoife Lawton. or would you rather have this one? Take a picture. What are the chances of that? Come on. Okay, and for Aoife's book, we have Joanne Carroll. Congratulations. Get your photograph taken there. Okay, we have a prize next for Best Tweet. This was from, would you believe, at HRB Librarians. And they had, so their tweet was, #Springsteen may be born to run, but #ASL 2016 librarians are born to smash stereotypes. Who's the loudest? Okay, so next up is the sponsor quiz prize, which is a voucher for a meal in the Radisson. Let me just check that the answers are right. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. This is Grace Hillis. And our last prize is the poster prize. And the winner of this, would you believe, and this wasn't a fix, was Niamh O'Sullivan. Okay, thank you. So, I've given out all the prizes I have. That is the end of the 2016 ANSL conference, Smashing Stereotypes, Librarians Get Loud. Now we'll retire to the bar for the after conference, Librarians Get Smashed.